Hi, Mary. Thank you.
Hi, nice to meet you. Absolutely. It's so fun to be together.
Oh, it's so exciting. This new Zoom technology that's making it all possible around the world.
Right. Right. I love it.
So everyone, this is Mary, and Mary is a brain doctor, a coach, and a mum of 4. And she is teaching mums and teaching people and busy women all over the world just how to manage their brains better to help us design a life that we want to live. Mary, can you tell us a little bit about yourself?
Sure. Yeah. So I'm a neuroimmunologist. So I'm a neurologist, a brain doctor, and that also focuses on the immune system and the nervous system. So that's what I have done for almost 30 years. I also started a business called Brain Fresh because I wanted to be kind of the translator and help people understand how the brain works so they can tap into its power day to day. So I love doing that. And I do that mostly for busy women. So this is great. I'm glad to meet all the moms today. That's so fun. I'm based in Cleveland, Ohio. So we're a bit of a distance away from each other, but that's why I love Zoom, that we can just connect and feel like we're next door, which is so nice. Yeah, so I'm glad to talk and share some tips and tricks, just as a busy mom, things that we can do day to day.
Awesome. And I have to say, just the whole field of neuropsychology and neuroscience is something that's intrigued me so much. So I really am excited to have this conversation with you.
Yeah.
Let's start by telling us one thing that we should all know about our brains, but not enough of us do know.
I think it's so fun to know that the brain really loves circular objects. So if you're really having a bad day, you have get the kids' bubbles out, blow bubbles, because many circular objects tells the brain that it's safe. So you all of a sudden like if you've ever been at a birthday party or something and you see bubbles, you just feel fun. Like it feels fun, it just feels lighter and fun. And that's because your brain is reacting like round is safe. So if you think of how we grew up and, caves and all the threats we've had in our life, usually round objects are not a threat. So if you just need a quick tip, your life is really busy as a mom, you have many kids running around, keep a round object in your pocket or keep, kids' bubbles close by, and it's fine to blow them for a minute here and there. And it'll tell your brain like, everything's good. Yeah.
That's amazing. What an incredible tip. I thought I knew something about the brain, but I didn't know that. That's amazing.
Yeah, it's neat. Yeah. Wow. And you even see it in architecture or design. So you'll see if you walk into a room and they have a round base or round couch, like rounded edges on a couch or a table or a pillow, it seems like fun. You'll say, oh, that seems fun. Like it seems lighter, so that's what your brain reacting. It's like, yeah, that's a good shape for brains. Yeah.
Actually, as a kid, my parents used to have a round bed.
Right.
We always thought that was like the coolest thing in the world.
Right. Yeah, that's hilarious.
That's an awesome tip. Thank you. And so in terms of neuroscience, and as soon as you kind of throw that word out there, or as soon as you even start to talk about the brain, I feel like it's still quite an intimidating topic that a lot of people think as soon as you bring it up, people start thinking, that's for the super smart people, super intellectuals. But and I know, why is it important for us all to understand our brains, and how can just having an understanding of our brains help us, and particularly us as mums?
Yeah, I love to share the power that we have every day to manipulate, or I want to think of it like partner with our brain, so just kind of hand to hand, if think of it like a little kid or maybe better as a partner. And then just think of like holding hands and doing things together. So the only way that a partnership works is if you know something about your partner. So the one thing we have to really say out loud is that emotions matter. And people, as soon as they hear emotions, they think, I don't want to open that closet door because everything's going to fall out. It's a scary place, but all I'm saying is like emotional awareness. So we just have to be aware of our emotions. Because they either open or shut the doors to like good ideas and our creativity and our productivity. So just little tips on how to realize your emotional state. You could either open the door to a lot of creativity and productivity, or you can close it down.
Yeah, awesome. And I know for me, so understanding a little bit about the brain and understanding a little bit about my children's brain has really, really helped me, even if it's just from a compassionate point of view. So when they're going through a tantrum or something developmental or really what my parents would call bad behavior. It's really helping them kind of stepping outside of that, just knowing that developmentally what's happening in their brain. And my question for you then is there anything as mums that we can do to really, other than the sleeping and eating and what we're going to talk about later, is there anything that we can really do for our children to help nurture their brains? Or what do their brains need?
Yeah, I mean, it's so interesting to think about that because it's very contagious. Like our emotional state is contagious to other humans, no matter what their age. And, obviously their emotional state will be contagious to us.
Yeah.
So if we get ourselves in a good place, I always want to think like, okay, I don't know if you're an animal lover, if I'm an animal lover, if you think like, okay, treat your brain like a little puppy, like don't feed it, don't maybe feed it, or maybe rest it, or maybe give it some water. You absolutely have to take care of it. It needs care. It needs daily care. And one thing about brains is they're always working. Even when we're like daydreaming or relaxing, the brain is always going. So it needs really a lot of metabolism, and it's only, a couple pounds, our brain, small. But it is like 20% of our like caloric energy, our metabolism. It takes a lot to keep it going. So it's like a factory always going. So if you want to think like you have to get yourself in the best place possible and kind of prepare for those busy days. And when like you have a 2-year-old, you're going to take them to the store, you better be in your best place. And how can you do that? It's like, oh, did I do everything just preemptively? Did I sleep? Did I eat? All those kind of things that matters. And then do you have any emotional awareness? And that's just could be really easily done. You could just write down 3 emotions 3 times a day and start to see your emotional pattern. Generally, they're linked to like your nutrition or your energy level, so like I'm very positive in the morning, and as the day goes on, I get more negative because I'm tired and I'm hungry and, all those kind of things. So our kids are the same. So but we also have to know that there's an emotional resonance, almost like a beehive, like we'll all kind of share an emotional tone in the room. So if it's really going bad, like the 2-year-old's really going down, we try to keep our emotions at a certain positive level, right? Which is so hard when the 2-year-old's kicking and screaming. It's so hard, but just know it's contagious. So you could lead it and stay calm. Think of a beehive. All the bees are buzzing at the same frequency. That happens with our brain waves. Like we will connect. So if you stay positive, most likely you'll be able to hopefully pull that kid out of that fit. But so you have to think about, number 1, give yourself the care you need. And number 2, if there's really a bad situation, try to stay kind of almost above it and don't get it and try to pull them into your good emotional wave rather than going to theirs.
Yeah. And I mean, then on that note, so what is happening in our brains so in a situation with our kids, let's keep it with that. And I know that there's lots of other situations. You work with a lot of women in business and in the medical field that have these high power jobs full of stress. And I'm guessing that the same thing is happening in their brains as it is a mum, where you feel like you have that emotional regulation, that the situation, you can preempt it. That, for instance, dinner time is going to be a tough time. There's going to be tantrums,
right.
There's going to be fights. And we can tell ourselves, okay, it's okay. But there is that moment where a flip just goes off. What is happening in our brains? And you mentioned about the nervous system. So how is that then linked to the nervous system? And what can we do about that?
Right. I know. So there are ways that we can kind of, again, partner with it. If you want to say, you don't really probably want to think of it that term. So maybe just partner with it. Yeah. So again, like, to prepare yourself. So if there are quiet moments through the day, you want to try to put yourself into the neural state. That's the peaceful neural state. So if you have 5 minutes, you have 10 minutes, you want to try to get a really quiet time. Like, even if it's 2 minutes, blow those bubbles, have something around in your pocket. Like, you can, again, partner. Your body needs to, go from stress time to more relaxation time. And you can kind of drive it there throughout the day. So you try to get 3 times a day of relaxation, even if it's 5 or 10 minutes, where you're doing something very peaceful for you. So that might be like sketching, just sitting, looking out the window. Like, if you can find 5 or 10 minutes throughout the day, you will have driven your neural cycle a little more peaceful than only stressed. So probably then when those days, or those moments come and you you really want to flip out. You have to kind of almost think about it like that beehive level of resonance, go back to that. Or the other thing that can help is to think of a big goal. The big goal is not to react, don't think of like, I'm trying to get a nice dinner with, I want those vegetables just right. Like think of the big high goals. Like, I just want this child someday to be a productive, member of society. Like, I don't need them at this very minute to be perfect, but I need them at some point in time to be productive in our society and happy and healthy and those kind of things. So sometimes make the goals like really high and big. Remember why you're there as a mom, rather than the little things. Think of the big things, and it'll a lot of times make this moment seem like, okay, I can deal with this moment because my long-term goal is really to show them that I respect them and care for them and love them, but I'm not going to deal with this. Like this little bit is just going to have to stop. So yeah, it's hard. It's very hard. It takes work,
skills like that, and skills like that in terms of meditation and, like you said, the journaling. Those are all. It's treating your brain like a muscle. So the more that you practice throughout the day, the more that in those difficult situations, your brain kind of has those connections to go into that state more easily, isn't it?
Right. Because you want to be able to drive it there. And that if you're only in sympathetic, your high stress zone all day long, that's the other thing a mom can do is kind of look at your day and say, ooh, I have like a little minute here. I'm dropping them off here. I could sit in the car. I could just look at the trees. That'll be my little 10 minutes. Or in between this and this, I have 10 minutes. So if you're only high stress, it's not sustainable. Something's going to go, like your emotional regulation, like you talked about, is not going to be able to sustain only high stress. So you have to put these little blocks of relaxation through your day. And the nice thing is it doesn't have to be very long. It could be 5 or 10 minutes. So, that can really help you drive that neural state. We always are kind of going back and forth, and we need that. We need both of those states. They're not bad or good, but sometimes we don't get a lot of relaxation in busy days as moms.
Yeah. And I mean, I guess on that point, that's my biggest issue sometimes with social media, is because when we have those moments, and maybe this is a good reminder to anyone listening.
Yeah.
When you have those moments, those 5 minutes in the car waiting for your kids, or, we complain a lot that we don't have time. There are 2 minutes here and 5 minutes there that we're kind of then just scrolling on social media.
Right.
Isn't going into that relaxed state, even though maybe you think it is. Your brain's actually very active during social media and being on the internet, isn't it? So
yeah, exactly. I mean, I think it's been neat, like some of the MRI studies, like looking at the brain, what it does during relaxation is it tends to it's almost like it's filing time. Like it puts things together, it figures out things socially. So if you're just feeling stuck or overwhelmed, just use those moments to literally just look outside and let your brain kind of file and make sense of your day, rather than on the phone. And just 5 or 10 minutes, doesn't have to be long,
What an incredible tip. Thank you. Emotional regulation, is it the same as emotional processing?
Yeah, I think people get so uptight when they hear those words, like they're like, it's going to take like a PhD to figure out how to do those things, so I personally like emotional awareness because it's not so scary. It's not like you have to do anything with emotions. You just have to know. So it's almost better to take a week or two and just write down the emotions a couple times a day, just a list of 3 emotions, 3 times a day, maybe with each meal, just write them down and just get an awareness first. Like what are your emotions doing? And then the nice thing is, if you think emotions come from chemicals in the brain, they're pumped out and then they give us a physical feeling. So when we're angry, we know what we physically feel like in our body, but it comes from the brain. If we're happy, we know what it feels like in our body to be excited and happy, but it comes from the brain because it pumped out a little chemical. So we know that those pass. Like usually it's like 90 seconds. It passes through us. Feelings, they'll come and they'll go. So we don't really have to this is what we have to do to change them. We just have to be aware of what's happening. And then we can partner with the brain a little bit and give it some happy moments through the day. So it's in that happy state a little bit more by what we talked about, so that's what you can take, those quick breaks. But I think emotional awareness is a nice place to start because you're not judging. You don't even have to fix them. You just have to notice them. And then once you get the words for them and you see them, because there's usually as humans, we use 3 to 5 words to describe our emotions, but there's like hundreds of emotions, right? So usually we don't even know how to explain them. They're just so many things and they change, right? So I don't find we have to regulate them, but if we just know them and see them and know they're going to change, and then, go back to that stage, like if you're feeling only negative emotions, you might want to go back. What have I done for my brain? Do I give it like whole food? Do I water it? Do I rest it? Those kind of things.
Emotional awareness. I love that. I really do like that.
Yeah.
Trying to even, like you said, stress yourself out about the fact that you now need to process these emotions, just being aware of
Yeah. Yeah.
and actually, in our house, I have the wheel of emotions, and like you said, we only use those five emotions, but there are hundreds of emotions linked to them. And I use it with my kids a lot. So when they're
Nice.
something, and it's easy to say you're feeling angry, or you're feeling sad, or you're feeling happy, but then we actually go to the wheel of emotions a little bit later when the situation has calmed down, and we try and decipher between all the different in between emotions. And
I think that's a wonderful resource, just to give them the words and to show them that it will change and that you have some insight later when things settle down. After you're out of that sympathetic stress mode and a lot of feeling mode, you can notice things a little bit later. That's why it's nice to do this before there's a problem. I find a lot of people, unfortunately, start to learn about this when there's a problem in the family, like a mental health issue or something. And of course, like go to see a professional if that's happening. But I think it's nice to give the kids the tools in a healthy day, just a normal old day, just start talking about feelings. That it's fine to talk about it. Because it's the key to healthy living, right? Emotional awareness is the key to healthy living. It's just seeing them and knowing them.
Yeah, exactly. And I mean, from my perspective, when it comes to children and the brain, I think a lot of the self-development that we're doing now is almost unwiring, or I don't know if you say unwiring or dewiring or rewiring. There we go. Things that we have learned and the trauma that we've gone through, all those limiting beliefs. And I think if we can kind of structure their lives and give them those tools and that understanding of their emotion, that they won't have to do the self-development that we now have to do as adults to kind of go back in time and work.
Right. I love that. Yes, I agree. I mean, I think I heard someone say you can only parent to your level of abilities, right? So as parents, if we learn about this, we'll share it all with our kids and we'll just talk about it matter-of-factly, and they'll think that's normal to have this emotional awareness and these tools like you with the images, and they'll just think that's normal. But I bet, that's not every household is doing that. And that's a wonderful tool to give your kids to just normalize it. Because I do see a lot of people try to learn about it as adults when there's a problem, when they have a mental health crisis or their family members do, and then they're trying to figure out, right? Like you said, you try to unlearn or figure out, some new language or tools. Yeah.
Well, I'm very optimistic about the work that you're doing, and I hope that every mom and every busy person finds your work so we can all learn about it.
Oh, thank you. Yeah. No, I think it's important. You too. Yeah, you too. I love you sharing these tools.
So in terms of, and I think this is relevant for every person as they go through different stages of life, those feelings of being stuck and overwhelmed just with everyday life, and we turn to things like comfort eating, or too much coffee, or too much wine, or social media, like we spoke about, all the array of disassociations or distractions that we can use. Could you talk a bit about that? I know you do workshops and talks about that as well.
Yeah. I think the interesting thing I heard is a researcher talking about how when they designed the phone, they designed it just like a slot machine, and they used all the features of a slot machine in a casino. Because they're so addictive, they use all of those features in the cell phones. So we have to know that we have been, that when we use our cell phone, that there's been designers that have, modeled what has kept a person stuck on a slot machine all day, hitting that button, hoping for the reward. And we can use that knowledge of how the brain works for our good, right? Rather than, just sitting on the phone and not really getting anywhere. And I mean, I think social media is great. Like you and I found each other through that way, and I get to learn about your work through that. So I think there's good things, but we have to know the brain likes quick responses and it likes quick rewards. So that is a way you can kind of partner with your neuroscience and give yourself a reward if you are trying to set up a new habit. So if you say, okay, I'm going to start doing that crazy thing that doctor talked about, is writing my emotions 3 times a day. I don't know what this is going to do, but she said to do it. So I'm going to do it for 2 weeks. And if you say, like, so if someone's going to try that, then give yourself a reward. If you do it for a day, give yourself a reward, whatever that is, a minute to sit and read a book. It's something that's also positive action, so give yourself a reward when you do something good. Don't just say, oh, I wish I didn't watch all those shows, or I wish I didn't do this, because the more you are aware of your emotions, you'll see they're driving your behaviors. And sometimes we don't even want to think about it. And that's when we'll do those distracting behaviors, like you said. So I think just learning some emotional awareness is a great place to start, because it takes away the pressure. Like, you'll see patterns in your day. It'll make so much sense. Like, oh, I always go for the wine at this time because I'm tired. I'm actually tired and hungry. Or I'm sad because, what my child's having trouble in school. You'll notice these emotions, and then you won't have to try to hide them with the behavior, or work around them with the behavior. You'll just see them, and then you'll see, what, those emotions will be gone tomorrow. I'll get a new one, so you'll see when you get this awareness that you don't have to do these actions as much, because you have the awareness. You don't have to hide behind certain action or distraction, like you had talked about.
So then you're just riding that wave of emotion rather than acting. I love that. So you almost break the link between what's going into your mind and your body's action to that.
Yeah, because if you don't have any awareness, a lot of times people aren't sure why they're stuck, or they're not sure why they're just sitting watching Netflix all night, even though they wish they would go for a walk, or they don't do hobbies anymore that they used to do, but they're not sure why. They just feel tired. So once they start getting some awareness, they usually can link those two things and say, oh, this is the moment where I say, no, I'm too tired, I'm going to go do this. And you can see certain patterns you've set, and then give yourself little rewards when you start to make little changes, and you'll be amazed. Like, you can kind of, again, partner with your neuroscience. It likes celebrations, So make sure you reward yourself for the good behavior.
Love it. Can we talk a bit about visualization? So I know this is a tool you recommend. And I love that quote that I think I saw on your social media or in one of your videos by Einstein, that imagination is more important than knowledge. I love it, because I think a lot of people are held back by what they think that they're able to do. So can you talk a bit about visualization and what it can do?
I love that too. So I think that's so neat coming from Einstein, right? Because you think he's a scientist, he only wants the facts, and he really believed in just, letting your brain just really dream. Well, I think there's a great study that meant so much to me and changed everything when I read, a psychologist did a study on folks visualizing their goals. And if they visualize their goals, and they just, like, in detail, almost like seeing it like a play, like if you think, oh, you have a child you're really working with, and you want them to be able to do X behavior, or to try to get, I don't know, you want them to try to get to this level of something, and or give them support so they can get to school safely and happily. And you have these goals, and you try, and you can see it, and you almost set it up like a movie in your brain and see it. And then also envision the barriers. Well, here's what might be hard about getting there to that goal. People were 87% more successful if they envision the success, like their goal, their dream, and then what might get in the way. Because believe it or not, even you don't have to work on the barriers, but your brain will start working on the barriers. So if you say, oh, I wish my child could get along with their sister better, or this one, or get to school easier without crying, and you see it, and like, oh, there's a beautiful day and everything went well, and here are the barriers, and then just let it be, and just sleep on it a few nights. A lot of times your brain will start to give you ideas about how to get around that barrier. So it's really neat. So envisioning is very powerful.
It's really exciting.
It's very exciting, because you don't have to figure it out. Like, your brain will figure it out for you, if you just like set it up and just see it like a movie, like with all the details.
Yeah, incredible.
Yeah, it's pretty neat.
So an example of this. So if you do have a big goal, and say it is a big goal, like running a marathon, going over it in your mind and preparing your way, your mind will actually find those neural pathways to make it happen. I mean, it's not
right.
I guess when you first think of visualization, you think that it's a little bit hippie or like woo-hoo, but
Yeah,
it's
kind of
neuroscience.
woohoo. Yeah, yeah. Well, you're really, and even it's even been shown in people with spinal cord injuries that if they had that block in their spinal cord and they were paralyzed, but they envisioned moving the extremity, the body would sprout new nerves to try to get it done. So the envisioning is powerful. Yeah. And in so many ways. So, and it's free and easy and it doesn't take any equipment. So you might as well use that tool, right?
Amazing. Okay,
So
Mary.
put it in your calendar, put some dream time in your calendar. So like think big, just go crazy, let your brain just go crazy. It's really fun,
I'm a dreamer, so I love it.
Yeah, that's great. Yeah.
Okay, our last question. What are 3 things that we should be doing for our brains every day?
Okay. Well, I'm going to say write down 3 emotions 3 times a day. That's so powerful. And it's so easy. It's not comfortable at first, but it's easy. That's number 1. Number 2, think of your brain like a little baby or puppy and feed it and water it and rest it. Absolutely. Absolutely. That's not even, you would never just not feed the baby or not feed the puppy, right? And number 3 is give your brain a little rest break 3 times a day. So something happy and relaxing quickly, even 5 or 10 minutes or longer, but 5 or 10 minutes, 3 times a day to just reset your neural cycle throughout the day because it'll get you out of the high stress zone.
Perfect. Oh, Mary, thank you so much for this chat. It's been incredible. I've learned things, and I know that everyone that's watching is going to have learned things and they can put it into action straight away, which is also amazing. So thank you. Yeah, I know that you have a lot of courses out at the moment. So tell us about what we can learn from you and where we can find.
Yeah, so for busy women, I have a course I call Synapse. So let's just to put the nerves together, we call that Synapse, and it's a productivity course. So if you want to figure out how to get everything in the day that's really important to you, I can help you with that. And I also have a healthcare workers support program because healthcare workers have been through so much with the pandemic. And so I have a support program with some brain tips and tools with the health coach. So those are 2 things you can do. And I'm glad to support anyone who needs it.
Incredible. Thank you. And I'm going to put a link to all of your socials and your website below where you can find you and follow along and learn more about the brain. You've put some amazing content, which is all free as well on Instagram.
Yeah.
If you want to dip into the world of brains and neuroscience.
Absolutely. Yes. Come into my world, right?
Yeah, I love it. You're changing the world one brain at a time.
Yes.
Mary, thank you. Have a lovely rest of your day. It's the evening here, but I know it's still morning there. So enjoy the rest of your day, and I hope it's productive. And
yeah, you stay well. Thanks for all you do.
Thank you. Thanks, Mary.